we have to remember that there's 5,000 injured over 5,000 injuries over in Gaza at this time, too, with probably countless other bodies still to be found as they're going to check out the rubble right now with the ceasefire that's now in place. Mm-hmm. What is your thoughts on that?
It's just more evidence of the outrages, and it should provide us with more motivation to see to it that our government changes its outrageous position of supporting these kind of crimes.
And I'd just like to remind our listening audience, you're listening to 102.7 FM, CFRO. This is Monday Brown Bagger. And Sid, the next thing I'd like to ask is how can ordinary people here in Canada, get involved with helping out the people over in Palestine? And either, is there some way that we could help send some supplies or money or something like that?
Well, all of the mosques in the Lower Mainland are involved in fundraising for humanitarian relief for Gaza, so it would be really wonderful for people to show up at the mosques and volunteer to contribute. Your physical presence would be welcome there. It would be a way of creating communication between the general population and the members of the mosque, and they have means of getting monies over there that is secure, and it goes directly to established and credible relief organizations.
And also at the same time, are there any events coming up that people can go to the different mosques? They're going to have any events like fundraisers or something like that directly at the mosques?
I don't know, but if you contact the mosque in your neighborhood, they will probably be able to tell you. We have those 3 events next week, 2 on Wednesday of next week, the 28th, at the Unitarian Church, and at UBC. We'll be raising funds at the Unitarian Church as part of the event with Jeff Harper, and there's going to be the event with Harper a week Friday at the Burnaby Mosque, and there will be fundraising there as well.
Are there any more ships at this time going in from Cyprus into the Palestine to supply with supplies, or even with more outspoken individuals going there just to observe what's happening?
I believe there are plans for them, yes.
And with the Israeli government trying to sink that last one that went in, you're telling us about. What are your thoughts on basically the actions of the Israeli Navy in regards to that?
Well, this is just one in a string of unbelievably over-the-top criminal actions. After a while, it begins to boggle your imagination that people could engage in such behavior, and we just cannot tolerate it. We cannot allow it to continue. We cannot allow there to be impunity for the Israelis and their government and their armed forces for engaging in actions like this. We have to do what we can to influence our government, which, if we change the Canadian government's position, the votes of our delegations at the United Nations, if we remove tax-free status for things like the Jewish National Fund in Canada and other issues like that, we will have a profound effect. What's happening across Canada and across the world in early March is that there are events, including speakers, that are involved in something called Israel Apartheid Week, which is trying to educate the public about the actual nature of Israeli society and its actions. In Vancouver, there's going to be a prominent South African by the name of Ronnie Kasrils, that's Kasrils. He will be speaking at the Vancouver Public Library on March the 8th. Kasrils was involved in the South African liberation struggle through the African National Congress, and he's of Jewish background himself. He became a member of the South African government after that, and he's coming to Vancouver to kick off the Israel Apartheid Week events, and he's going to be talking about the parallels between South African and apartheid and Israel.
And one question I have for you, I remember Mr. Harper coming out when Hamas was elected by the people in the ideas of democracy, one person, one vote. They basically vote in who they want as a party. And Mr. Harper would not recognize that. And also in regards to Mr. Bush has claimed that he's exporting freedom. But in the ideas of democracy and the ideas of freedom, Hamas was duly elected by the people. So what I can't understand is why are these two countries not, practicing what they're preaching? All they're doing is they're talking hypocrisy every time they open their mouths, it sounds like.
their version of democracy seems to mean that you can vote for anybody you like as long as they're okay by us. And if it's not okay by us, we're going to bring down heaven and hell on you until you move our way. Unfortunately for Bush and Harper and their ilk, the Palestinian people have shown a great deal of courage and resilience despite the unbelievable punishment that they've received, and they're just not going that way. The reason that Hamas has become more popular within the Palestinian population is not because of its Islamist politics, but because it's honest and not corrupt. The forces within the Palestinian governing powers that the United States and Israel are backing are those of Mahmoud Abbas and his Palestinian Liberation Organization that are incredibly corrupt and amenable to anything that Israel is demanding. The Palestinian people are tired of the corruption. They want a force that is honest and forthright and that stands up for them against the pressures that are being put on them, and that's what Hamas supplies. So that's why they voted for Hamas, and that's why Israel and the United States have gone crazy in response.
I also remember back years ago that Hamas also provides not only education, but it provides basically sort of a social network to help the people, which wasn't there before. And I remember reading that like years ago, so it's like they've been there for a long time. Yes, they do have parts of it which have been kind of radical and basically, militant. But then again, the exact same thing can be said here in Canada. The exact same thing can be said in the United States. What is your thoughts?
Well, a lot is made of the Hamas charter, but the fact is that the Hamas charter has never been built into the Hamas government. The Hamas government has refused to recognize Israel, and that's being used as a pretext by Israel for not negotiating with Hamas. Hamas is not willing to recognize Israel because Israel is defining itself as a Jewish state, which presumes second-class citizenship for anyone who is not Jewish there. And Israel, furthermore, is unwilling to define its borders. What Hamas is saying is that if Israel is willing to withdraw to its 1967 borders, in other words, pull out of the West Bank and Gaza, then Hamas is willing to engage in a 100-year truce. That is the equivalent of declaring peace. Israel has ignored that and continued to escalate and provoke. It has assassinated Hamas politicians, which is a war crime in itself. And so, the issue of Hamas is being used as a red herring by Israel to continue doing what it wants, which has been the history of the Israeli government. Before Hamas was the issue made by Israel, Israel and its government and its intelligence forces, the Mossad, actually used aid to Hamas to undermine the Palestinian Liberation Organization under Yasser Arafat. At that time, he was the devil, and Israel backed Hamas to undermine him. So Israel has been playing this kind of dirty games for a long time.